Our next story leads us to Great Britain with Ribbit Feeder, the man obsessed with figuring out who would win between the Totally Obsessed Pac-Man fan and the Totally Obsessed Ninja Turtles fan.
Fandoms exist for just about everything, whether big or small. If there's a piece of media, there's a good few fans. However, in every fan base, there's a few members that take it a little too far.
These two have had their lives consumed by their love for their respective franchises, Pac-Man and the Ninja Turtles, to the point that they don't care what anyone else thinks, and publicly embarrass themselves often.
Michele Ivey, the Totally Obsessed Ninja Turtles fan.
And Tim Crist, the man obsessed with Pac-Man.
For this episode, both human beings will be fully composited, including feeds from outside their original videos. This means we will be including Michele's Twitter, along with this picture we found of Tim attempting to eat someone's hat.
Ribbit?
Michelangelo says follow your heart, guys, follow your heart.
Max?
The trick is to avoid them. It's supposed to avoid the ghosts.
Alright, let the episode commence.
Where's your head at?
26-year-old Michele Ivey is convinced that she is a Ninja Turtle. For the past 14 years, she has dedicated herself to following the morals and lessons of the Ninja Turtles and their master Splinter. They taught her not to hide from herself, and to eat nothing but disgusting pizza.
Her favorite turtle being Michelangelo, who she has the decapitated head of. The real head from Ninja Turtles 3, which cost her $2,000. Then she bought Leonardo as well. Money well spent.
Oh, don't you worry, Max. She works minimum wage at a factory and constantly goes into debt. But at least she gets to say,
I have the head of Leonardo!
Gee, I never thought of it like that, Ribbit. But you know, to become a Ninja Turtle, she needs to have some power behind her.
Michele can punch pretty well thanks to her karate skills, and was able to shove her brother. But that's nothing compared to her slippery speed. She can move around her kitchen with enough speed to go to the fridge. She can keep up with her brother, who should be as fast as a human. And either her or her brother are fast enough to pilot a car, as seen by the car in the background. Even if it's just her brother's car, she should scale.
That's right, Ribbit. But also, she's very durable, having endured falling down. She survives eating disgusting pizzas daily, she's okay with living next to Detroit, and survives watching the Coming Out of Our Shells tour. And she liked it! She's also got the athletic prowess of a turtle, able to do a little roll that she learned in karate.
You know, some people say that she's actually crossed over the line and become a Ninja Turtle herself, and I'm inclined to agree, because she spent over $500 on karate lessons and has become a blue belt in karate, and actually seems to know a few skills, though wearing that clunky suit can't be too helpful. She also has the ability to take out bank loans.
You know, people have told her to drop the turtles and get a life, but she has a life. She's a turtle! She even has access to her heads. Yes, this is not her head. These are her heads. They are of Leonardo and Michelangelo, respectively. And she even has a full-body Michelangelo suit that can soften blows used against her.
She can also paralyze her foe in fear with her Shredder action figure. She has a lot of figures actually, a whole collection that I'm sure will come in great handy. Some come with very small plastic swords and stuff.
She likes the turtles so much that she learned karate instead of ninjutsu. I mean, I guess it's cheaper, but we've already seen that she's willing to spend $2,000 on a head. But okay, she was taught to be self-aware. I guess that one flew by the wayside, huh?
She memorized the Ninja Turtles 3 script, and even memorized the songs from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Coming Out of Their Shells tour, including Follow Your Heart, which she sang on camera for us. How very generous.
Follow Your Heart changed her life, clearly for the better. But there are still some downsides to being a turtle. She is easily manipulated, like when her brother told her to look down and then he tripped her. Clearly, her mind is so full of turtle knowledge that she has to make room by forgetting how to not get fooled.
She may not be perfect, but the Turtles are lucky to have her as part of their team.
Well, dude, these are some moves that my master Splinter has taught me to protect myself from people like him.
Meet Tim Crist, the man obsessed with Pac-Man. Ever since he was 7, he was obsessed with Pac-Man, and has since grown quite the collection, and now chooses Pac-Man over his life. His family is scared. His life was consumed by Pac-Man.
He has a daily schedule. Wake up, go to the arcade, lose at Pac-Man, and then shout at others about how great Pac-Man is.
Yes, because even after all of these years of playing Pac-Man, he has yet to master the game. But his lack of Pac skill didn't deter his wife from marrying him, because he's at least better than her at the game, which he'll be sure to let her know any chance he gets. But speaking of his routine, his shenanigans take a toll on his physicality. Let's see what the mighty yellow one has bestowed upon him.
He's strong enough to jerk and tilt around the Pac-Man arcade machine. The workers even felt bad for it. He was able to open his maw to almost eat a man's top hat. Indeed, Tim is a force to be reckoned with.
In terms of durability, it's likely to assume that he's endured getting his ass kicked after yelling at people too many times in public, and he's fast enough to pilot his car while holding a megaphone.
He also has many abilities, including his superhuman senses. Yes, he appears to have a sixth sense of sorts.
Yeah, whenever Pac-Man is around, he gets an oddball sense that he might be nearby. But this could potentially work on any being he's aware of. The signs usually involve a tingling sensation running up and down his nipples. He also seems to have a psychic link to Pac-Man, who could potentially give him advice.
He also has quite the arsenal. For example, his trusty Pac-Man mask. Never leave home without it. He also has a megaphone that he uses to shout at people walking by, minding their own business from his car. He also has a cape.
In terms of personality,
You have to avoid them. The trick is to not run into them when they try to eat you. See, game over. Now you don't get to play anymore, and it's all me. You get to watch me play.
he's a fucking dick. He treated his wife like a child for not being good at Pac-Man. He yells at random people on the street who are minding their own business, accusing them of not indulging in Pac-Man, and is just a general nuisance. Though he may be playing this up a lot, I don't think Tim Crist is actually a bad guy.
He believes Pac-Man is a messiah. Instead of condoms, he'd be reaching for tokens according to his best friend. He knows Pac-Man like the back of his hand, and knows all the sound effects despite, again, not mastering the game. He was even able to trick a woman into becoming his wife!
Not to mention his musical talent. He wrote his own song titled Pac-Man is Naked, and So Should You.
The best way to Pac-Man is to use the game! You move the joystick and he eat the dot!
But he isn't perfect. Nearly, but not quite. Despite playing over 40,000 times, he's yet to master the game. He's also susceptible to possession, as some say he was possessed by Pac-Man.
He becomes devastated if he loses at Pac-Man, believing he could have done better. Maybe he could have turned left instead of right. He also has zero social skills, going up to people and asking for tokens that he may offer to the Great Yellow One.
He may not be perfect, but Tim Crist will stop at nothing until the entire world shares his love of Pac-Man.
I think these people are going to look back on their lives. They're going to be lying on their deathbed thinking, my God, I have squandered my life. Think of all the times I played things that weren't Pac-Man. Say Pac-Man! Say Pac-Man! And now it's too late. Pac-Man!
Okay, now that we've seen both sides of the coin, the gloves are coming off. Their worlds are crossing over. Let's see what happens when these characters show their fictional fisticuffs.
Some town, 3 PM. What seemed like a peaceful day for the town was soon going to come to a screeching halt. The sky was a greenish blue, with a few clouds polluting the clear view. There were pigeons flying across the sprawling landscapes as the buildings arched upright. An overhead shot of Tim Crist's car is seen, rusted and withered. Despite visually being on its last legs, it trucks along across the street.
Another day with my wife's car keys? Well, that's just another day to spread the glorious joy of Pac-Man!
Tim pulls up to a strip mall and opens his glove compartment. A box of tissues, some expired condoms left by his brother, the wrapper to a pack of gum, and his megaphone were the items visible, aside from the crumbs and gunk accumulated over the years. He pulls out the megaphone, presses the trigger, and screams to his lungs' capacity,
It is today that you will accept the full glory of Pac-Man into your lives!
He lets out a slight chuckle after every remark. Just then, Michele walks out of the arcade in the strip mall, her face visibly red with anger after losing the Ninja Turtles arcade game. Tim passes her, not noticing he's near an arcade at first.
Pac-Man!
Master Splinter always told me to stay away from people like him. Just then, Tim senses the presence of Pac-Man. He takes an illegal turn, splashing Michele in a puddle. Her anger swells, as he steps outside of his car before entering the arcade, oblivious to her feelings.
I can feel Pac-Man! He's here! The tingling is running up and down my nipples. Wait, do I have a quarter? Quarter!
He gestures over to Michele, as if he didn't just drench her in murky water.
Hello, do you have any spare quarters that I may offer to the Great Yellow One?
First of all, my clothes are soaking wet because of you. Second, the Great Yellow One. You're talking about Pac Guy, right? Whatever his name is. You have to stop bothering people. Nobody cares.
Pac-Man! His name is Pac-Man! You will know the full glory of—
Right. Look, I don't have any quarters, so step away before this gets messy.
Michele goes into a fighting stance.
I didn't want to have to do this, but I need that quarter to truly master Pac-Man. If you're the one standing in my way, then I'll put you on your deathbed. Right here, right now. Then you'll be wallowing in sorrow, knowing that you didn't spend your life playing Pac-Man.
A great slam and then some. Here goes.
Tim whistles the Pac-Man startup theme. Tim takes a swing, but Michele is able to duck under his punch and maneuver around him and shove him down. With Tim struggling to get up, Michele takes the opportunity to lower her turtle head on like Darth Vader's helmet. She has finally donned her true head. Tim finally gets up and notices the change.
Ah, I see you believe in a different god than I. Allow me to convert you with the glowing semicircle of life.
Tim dons his Pac mask and starts screeching into his megaphone, yelling Pac-Man over and over and over. As Michele covers her ears, Michele falls to the floor and crawls into the arcade to drown out the noise. It seemingly works, as she stops crawling next to a Pac-Man arcade cabinet. But little does she know, Tim Crist is nearby. Tim does an evil chuckle as he tips the arcade cabinet over, intending to crush Michele. Luckily, Michele was taught to avoid such things, and she ninja rolls out from under the falling arcade machine. Michele drops to her feet and yells, "Cowabunga!" Michele begins to swing at Tim, but he's simply avoiding her punches. He retains a cocky grin as he sees her fail to catch him. Eventually, she gets tuckered out and stops swinging. Now it's his turn. Tim begins swinging at Michele, carefully placing each and every punch to pull off a multitude of combos against Michele's turtle head.
The point is to avoid my punches? You're supposed to avoid them? Look now you're all tired out and it's just me. You get to watch me beat you.
Michele quickly darted towards a crowded area, becoming one with the shadows. Tim began to search for her, and soon began to feel a tingling sensation run up and down his nipples. He feels the sensation get stronger and stronger before he eventually reaches the Pac-Man machine he had previously toppled over.
Dagnabbit! Foiled!
Seeing him distracted, Michele steals someone's pizza and takes some mayonnaise from her pocket, and makes one of her famous turtle pizzas. She sneaks up on Tim and gets him in a chokehold, before jamming the pizza down his throat, making him eat it, even going as far as to make him chomp down on it by punching his jaw. Tim was frightened and disgusted by this, and saw only one escape. He looked deep into his subconscious to seek Pac-Man's guidance. Pac-Man gave him the ultimate plan. Without warning, Tim bit on Michele's hand, causing her to free him. Once free, Tim shoved Michele back, before walking towards her, clearly sweaty and tired. He rips off his Pac-Man mask and tosses it away, with such razor-sharp speed that it cut a rope to one of the arcade signs dangling above them.
Look into my eyes and see the man who you couldn't defeat. I will destroy you with my Pac-Man now.
Michele sees the dangling arcade sign and leaps out of the way. Before Tim realizes it, the arcade sign comes crashing down on him. Ironically, the arcade sign had Pac-Man as the C. He was crushed by the thing he loved. Tim thought the semicircle of his life was coming to an end, but Michele was able to summon an ambulance in time to save him. While in the ambulance, Tim comes to and realizes that the Ninja Turtles saved his life, while Pac-Man tried to bring it to an abrupt end. From that day on, Tim Crist became a Ninja Turtle fan, and has yet to master the NES Ninja Turtles game.
Knockout!
Look what you've done.
Much to our chagrin, Tim Crist didn't have what it takes to take on the Ninja Turtle fan herself. But why is that?
Michele Ivey is an actual blue belt in karate, and could presumably fight well, if she weren't in that clunky suit. But that gives her more endurance over Tim Crist, whose punches would be cushioned.
That's right, and even if Tim's oddball sense could counter Michele's stealth, she was taught to never hide, so this would never come into play. Both are actually human beings with no enhanced physicality, so it's difficult to say who would actually win a fight, but those karate skills, man, they don't give a blue belt to just anybody.
We're just assuming with that in her protective suit that Michele would probably triumph over the Totally Obsessed Pac-Man fan.
And the winner is Michele Ivey.